Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. You know that my guests and I are excited to have you join us this week. Now, as you tune into the show, sometimes I know that word change and then sales, woo, two big words just in the title of the show can throw people for a loop. But here's the deal. Changing your sales game is easier than you think. At the core, I believe, of sales and just meeting people is our communication skills. So in the show notes, I have a gift for you. It's my communication style assessment. You'll get 2 reports. One will spotlight just your natural communication superpowers, how your message is typically received. Flip side, your lowest score, you'll get a secondary report. That one spotlights probably a blind spot that you don't even realize exists. And that's how your message is landing for people who communicate 180 degrees different than you. So kind of important. So again, the link is in the show notes, my gift to you. And I hope it helps you change your sales game with ease and grace, because life is hard enough. Let's make it a little bit easier. Now, my motivational quote to set the stage for my guests and our conversation is by Mark Hunter. And Mark says, "The confidence you have going into the sales call will determine the level of profit you have coming out." Now, being in sales for more decades than I'd like to admit, I've had my share of the prospecting woes, right? Sometimes I just didn't feel like prospecting, getting motivated to make the cold calls, or sometimes even just to do those follow-up on my COI, my center of influence calls, or even more prospect calls to meet my revenue goals. And it's just not always easy. I get it. And my guest gets it as well. So during today's show, my guest and I, we're going to unpack the challenge of sales call reluctance and the emotional hesitation to prospect and promote. We'll dive into the top 5 of the 16 types of call reluctance and discuss the techniques to prospect confidently and consistently. After today's show, I hope, and my guest hopes, that you'll be inspired to get your ASK in gear. I love that, Connie. So who's this wonderful guest? Her name is also Connie. So she's an amazing person, of course. Connie Kadansky is an expert in combating sales call reluctance. She provides salespeople with cutting-edge strategies to boost prospecting performance. She empowers salespeople to break through mental barriers by utilizing neuroscience and innovative apps, fostering sales success and personal fulfillment. Her insights are sought after in industry publications and have been featured in leading financial media. Please help me welcome my wonderful friend, Connie, to the show. So thanks for being on, Connie.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm excited. I love having, well, first of all, I don't think I've ever had another Connie on the show. So this is very exciting. This is an exciting day in the podcasting world, at least for me, right, Connie? So my first question is, can you define what you mean by sales reluctance? I think that'll set the stage for our conversation.
Yes. So sales reluctance is the emotional hesitation to proactively prospect and promote. So it's oftentimes referred to as sales call reluctance. And so many people think, oh, that's just picking up the phone. Well, telephobia is only one of the 16 types, and it's one of the easiest to overcome.
Really? So the telephone, because I find that people are nervous about the telephone, especially because you lose the body language, right? Like we're recording video, so you could see me, I could see you, I can watch your body language. But the telephone, that's fascinating, that's the easiest. Can I ask why it's the easiest? Is there a psychology behind that?
Well, if it's just telephobia that salespeople experience where they're not comfortable with the phone, sometimes they have a combination of other type of call reluctance that can lend it to be more difficult. And the reason I'm so confident with this is because way back when I took the assessment, I had telephobia, high telephobia. Just like you just talked about, that people are more comfortable in person, they can watch body language. And so in one morning in my office, I was able to overcome it using a technique that is called sensory injection. Now, you need to have a good sense of smell in order for this to work. When we smell something, it instantaneously takes us to another place.
Mm.
And so you have to follow step by step this process. And in essence, it's using what I always encourage, an essential oil, that when you're ready to make that prospecting call and you just go, oh, you feel uncomfortable, feel dread, there's a lot of different things going on, is when you've done some prep work and you smell this particular scent, it interrupts that automatic feeling of dread and it takes you to another place. So like I say, it has to be set up. You have to do a little prep work and it works.
So it's almost like changing the neuroplasticity in our brain, right? Now that we have this neuroscience knowledge that, when you and I started our career, what was neuroscience? I mean, it wasn't even a word or a thing. So now that we understand how the brain functions, we can get into the psychology, right, of what holds us back or what those fears are. So that's fascinating. I've heard that before about the sense of smell, that it can calm and have other different effects depending on what you're looking to achieve. But I love that. So we can, and again, I get what you're saying about their steps. It's everybody's listening and go, oh, great, I'm going to put some cinnamon oil in my diffuser. I'm good to go. That's not what we're talking about. There's probably that neuroplasticity of the brain that you have to almost do a little rewiring so the connection of the scent to the call becomes seamless, right? But then the confidence is there to make the call. Am I correct in my assumption there?
Yes, you summarized that beautifully. And what happens is that you need to choose a scent that you don't have an affiliation with, and so that you can totally have it as your prospecting scent. And I had a financial advisor that loved to golf. He actually found a scent that smelled like cut grass.
Stop. I love that. That's awesome.
And then another gentleman, he just had a lovely honeymoon in Hawaii, and so he chose sunscreen.
Can I tell you, I do like the scent. I do like the scent of sunscreen, right? It's got that coconutty vibe to it, right? It smells fresh. It's that sun-kissed dewy face that we have in the summer. That is freaking hysterical. Any other cool ones?
Well, and what is so important now is to emphasize that call reluctance is a mental habit. It's learned. And a habit's worst enemy is to interrupt it when it's going on. And so by using our sense of smell, we're interrupting that negative habit, that fearful, dreadful habit in the moment. And that's how is the neuroplasticity.
I love it. Yeah, it's pattern interrupt, right? We all need it. If you're stuck in a definition of insanity, right, Connie? We do the same thing over and over and we're expecting a different result. That's insane. So we know there has to be some kind of pattern interrupt to go from what we've been doing to something new. We just don't always, here's where the glitch happens. We don't know what the something new is. And that's why we continue on the treadmill of nowhere, right? We go nowhere because we just keep taking the same pathway forward. What are some of the common patterns that you observe in salespeople who are experiencing this prospecting fear? And I know there's several other. We've just dug in a little bit with the telephone piece. And how do you approach these patterns? So if you could kind of give us, maybe a little more expansive view.
Well, so the current reality is a lot of people hide, deny, and suppress this call reluctance. And in 2019, there's an article in Harvard Business Review that 1 in 2 business to business sales people back then, and I think it's still true today, experience this call reluctance. So people, if they know that it's their prospecting day, it's on their calendar, they wake up with a little bit of blues. not the Monday morning blues, the prospecting blues, and they dread it. They just are not comfortable with it. They procrastinate. They look through their list. They start making excuses why they don't need to. They decide it's time to call their mother. They think that maybe I better take my dog for a walk. And so just those patterns of distracting themselves from something that's uncomfortable. And so that's the first time where people really need to recognize and vocalize what they're experiencing. And then it's the current reality. And then I always take people in my coaching session is describe how you want it to be. What would it be like to be able to? And then to really get them, because our success is only as I've got it is only as good as our mindset. I have a cup here that says that. And so that is where we really start helping people shift the mindset to how they want it to be. Because when we can go there, again, we're changing our biochemistry in our body. How do you want it to be? And so the minute whatever we're thinking, our hypothalamus is pumping out and secreting chemicals to match that thought. So that's another way to subtly get people to start thinking about this and creating a different mindset and looking at it more as an adventure, a learning experience, getting their curiosity.
Yeah. It's interesting because I love that word curiosity. And when I train, I have corporate clients. I work mostly with banks and financial institutions, credit unions, that kind of thing. So I like working with teams because I guess it's rewarding for me because you see them move the needle together and you see customers starting to feel the difference, on this global scale. So that's very exciting. But I use the word curiosity a lot because if we're not curious about our client and what's going on, and it's all about me, I'm telling you how great I am and I can help you with this, and I'm vomiting information at the client, I'm not really understanding who the client is, right? And I use this quote a lot. Stephen Covey's fifth habit is to seek to understand before being understood. And the only way we can do that is through curiosity. Yes, questions and all of that, but we have to start with our own curiosity of, hey, what's going on in your life, whoever that client or center of influence is in front of us. So that I love that word curiosity. The other thing I find fascinating with what you just said, mindset. Connie, when you and I started in sales, mindset wasn't even a topic. It was pick up the phone, make 1,000 calls. You need 15 appointments for the week. Right? I was in the financial industry, right? So you had to make 15 appointments, which translated into 250 cold calls or whatever. And we didn't have LinkedIn. We didn't have social media. We had a yellow pages and we had the phone book, or we bought lists, right? That were really bad. So you had to scrub them. It was a whole process. So I tease the kids now. I go, don't you complain to me. I walked uphill to school barefoot in the snow both ways, right? I tease them, but think about it. Mindset it was like pull up your big girl pants and make your phone calls. There was no psychology or any sympathy around why I was feeling distress or hot flashes or whatever it might be. Go ahead. I'm curious as to your experience coming through the ranks.
Well, and I think that what's interesting that many people don't realize is curiosity is an emotion.
Yes.
And when we get really curious, and something else you said is it's not about me. And so one of the things that I coach people on is when you're ready to make your prospecting calls, just say it's not about me. And to really take that focus off of, because do they like me? Am I saying the right thing? And that's where the incoherence comes in, and we're not focusing, we're not listening. And so just getting curious and seeing it as an adventure. And when we're curious about other people and we still have the interest level in them, And it's just getting curious. And one of the things that I share is salespeople are we just love the yes, don't we? We love the yes. Well, is ask a no question that's really a yes. So are you opposed to sharing with me X? Are you opposed to having a brief conversation? And what that does is it just really you ask them a yes question. What's your schedule like? So I can pop on by and they're going, oh, what am I saying yes to? Oh, how much time is this salesperson going to take of mine? But when we make it light and have that tone of it just changes everything.
Absolutely. So two things as you were saying that. One of the things I teach right out of the gate, before you even start the questioning process, people know you have to ask questions, but subconsciously, just like we're having subconscious issues like you're talking about, like these mindset concerns or apprehensions, well, our clients are feeling the same thing, or potential clients if they don't know us yet. So that curiosity, I always say, start your conversation by saying, listen, whatever they come in for, right? So in banking, they're coming in for cash management if they're a business or checking account, whatever it is. So your response, I always say, is sure, I can help you with that. And then the next statement is, before we begin, I just need to ask you a whole bunch of questions. Then I could really understand your specific situation, and then I could customize the solution for you. And 99.9% of the time, the client goes, oh, what do you need to know? And it's funny because, people report back after trying this, Connie, and what happens, we put people, what I call on an offensive posture, where they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's in it. What's in it for me? You need to ask me questions so you can customize a solution that's going to work for me and my situation right here, right now. So you put the client in that, not in an adversarial stance of, oh, here it goes, they're going to push products on me, to one of, oh, they're curious, let me be curious back. Without saying that, that's what you're on the subconscious level is what we do. And then I just want to share really quickly, using that, one of my new clients, we're about 6 weeks into my program, and she sent me this lovely email. She goes, it was like you were in my head. What would Connie do, right? And so a client came in, she sees him all the time, very formal, very standoffish. This bank happens to use predictive index. So we talked about how do we look at the client's predictive index to understand how they need you to communicate with them, kind of like my communication style assessment. Anyway, she says, shout out to my Barb over there. She emailed me saying this client who's very formal, you have to call him Mr. Whatever. He won't call her Barb. He calls her Barbara. She started to use, hey, before we begin, can I ask you some questions? They talked for an hour. She ended up selling 3 additional products. She said after 10 minutes, she knew what he needed and was ready to say, oh, I could fix that. Da, 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 da. She said, but in her head was my voice saying, be curious, ask questions, be patient, slow your roll, like just slow down, enjoy the conversation. And before you know it, she made 3 sales and had to email me. She goes, holy crap, like this works. It's not right, Connie. It's not brain surgery. It's being present. It's mindset. It's shifting our thoughts from I'm pushing something, right, to I'm really just helping this client with, and then fill in the blank with whatever you're selling. So I love that. I love that word curiosity and adventure. Adventure, experiment, same kind of vibe, right? We have to experiment different things to find what works for us, because it's not a one size fits all. Right?
Well, and Connie, what is your definition of selling?
So selling for me is you have to come from a place of love, care, and respect. And it has to be about the client. It's never about us. To me, that's selling, love, care, and respect. Showing up for that person with whatever your zone of genius is, however you can serve them, that really is how we sell. I don't know. What's yours? I'm curious. That's a great question.
I agree with that. And also selling is solving people's problem.
Amen.
For a profit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And so discovering what that problem is, what it means to them, what difference will it make when it's solved, and and we have influence on people to help them shift their mindset around different things.
That's right.
Their perspective.
Yeah, there's a great show, a new show on called Tracker. And he calls himself a rewardist. So if you're missing a dog and you have a $5,000 reward, he'll go and find your dog. It's more serious. The show is more serious where people are missing. They've been kidnapped, cult. One guy was in a cult. But here's the thing. At the end, he finds the person or finds the answer to one, right? Somebody might have died or whatever, but he gets paid at the end. They hands him the check. And I said to my husband after watching one, I said, wow, how many salespeople are looking? Well, he should have done that for nothing, right? Finding someone. No, aren't you grateful that he was able to find your loved one that was missing or whatever, or trapped in on the side of the ledge? He should get paid. You were the one who offered the reward. Why shouldn't he accept that reward? We should get paid for whatever our zone of genius is. Because if you could do it and you didn't need me, then that's great. If you need me, I should get paid for that expertise. So I agree with that 100%. You mentioned your coaching. How do you personalize your coaching strategies so you accommodate the obviously different personalities like we're talking about, as well as sales background? Like somebody who's new, maybe don't have as many bad habits, I don't know, or maybe worse habits. So how do you kind of customize that?
Well, by using the diagnostic. And so the sales call reluctance assessment is called the SPQ Gold. So it is very comprehensive, and have people take that, because sometimes people think they're experiencing call reluctance, and in reality, they have a deeper issue. For instance, they might not feel physically have enough gas in the gas tank to physically do the prospecting. So something could be going on there. Or they're just not personally connected to the product or the goal. And so it really flushes that out, and then get a feel for them. And newer salespeople are actually my favorite because they haven't had all these different systems. And some of these big companies, and you may be aware of it, it used to be the joke is, what flavor of the month is it this month?
Absolutely.
Instead of sticking to a particular philosophy or training program.
Yeah.
And so I get a feel for them. I also have a master's certification in coaching, and I have a way to just help people feel psychologically safe so that they can be vulnerable. Many of my clients are seasoned males that they have an image and et cetera, but underneath. And so just to be able to create that confidentiality and create that space where they can actually admit things that they're noticing, because once people admit it, the chances of them moving forward are so much greater. But it needs to be in a space where they're gritting their teeth, but they're admitting it, but they're hearing it. Because one of the things that, as you already know, when it comes out of my mouth, they doubt it. When it comes out of their mouth, it's true.
Yeah.
And it's not only with coaching, it's also with prospects.
Yeah.
That when they speak it, and it's true, instead of us speaking it on their behalf.
Absolutely. I often say, when you present your solution, use the words that your client has used in describing their situation. So example, right, as a financial advisor, I always go back to that as my example with a personal client, not a B2B client. And the client would say to me, hey, Connie, the thought of paying off my mortgage, saving enough for retirement, and being able to retire someday, like, I'm terrified. And I said, then what we do when we go back, right, we want to soften it. We say, we know you're uncomfortable or concerned or unsure. No, they said terrified. So when you present, whether you know what they mean by terrified, you're using their words. Subconsciously, they're thinking, she understands me. she knows how vulnerable I am because I heard the word. That word is charged for that person. So as soon as we use that in our presentation, you're bringing that person right to the same place as you, or the same page that you're on, because you're using their vocabulary. So it's exactly right. Me saying it and someone else verbalizing it are two very different things. And I bet you do this with your coaching too. Somebody will ask me a question like, Connie, what would you do with XYZ situation? And before I answer, I say, okay, I could tell you what I did. I'm curious. What did you do? Tell me what you asked. Tell me how you approached it. Tell me the customer's reaction, whatever. Give me like a sense of what went on. And then we can talk about what you did well and maybe little tweaks from there. Because usually 80% of the time we're doing things correctly. We have that little growth in that tweaking, that 20%. And people laugh whenever I do that. And then they answer. And then I say, the only other thing I would do was this little, they go, really? And then they feel so empowered as well. We know what to do. We don't always know the stages to do it in. So sometimes we just need to rework our brain, our presentation, our questions, whatever it is. So it sounds like you do the same thing with your clients.
Well, yes. And what you described is, I call tactical empathy. This is one of the things that Chris Voss, the former FBI hostage negotiator, talks about, is to be able to articulate how that prospect is thinking and feeling without sympathizing, agreeing, or disagreeing. So it seems like you have big goals and you're terrified around. And that's what causes them to lean in. And just like you said, it's like, this person gets me. And that's where we develop the trust, where they start trusting us and willing to see us as a partner in this whole process.
Yeah. And I love that word partner. I think that's an important one. My story before with Barbara, at the end of her email, she said the gentleman thanked her, said, I can't believe you took this time with me. He said, you asked me so many important questions, no other, because most of our clients in the banking world, they bank with 3 to 4 banks, right? So if I'm a banker, they're banking in 3 to 4 other banks. So he said, none of my other bankers have stopped and paused and took this time with me. I can't tell you how I appreciate it. So in my email response, I said, I'm so proud of you. I said, here's the thing. You just differentiated yourself from every other banker out there by just taking the time to understand him, what he was feeling and what he was going through, even though he gives these one-word answers. He's very standoffish. We have to break through that, not in a forceful way, but in a loving, gentle way. And she was able to do that by not rushing. We're always rushing through it's like rushing through the transaction. You don't build relationships by rushing through a transaction, right?
Oh, that is so true. Because salespeople, I know we usually have a lot of good salespeople have a Ferrari engine inside of them. And so and then that's what happens when they try to close too quickly, or, it's so fascinating, the things that we do. And to be able to have a coach like you and like me that helps people recognize it. Wow, what a gift.
It's a gift. Yeah. And again, before we started recording, we were saying how lucky we are with the technology and with all of the things, right, that are available to us, right, as humans, forget about just in the business realm. So it's really a fun time I think it's a fun time to be alive. It's a fun time to be in business. It's a fun time to be in sales, because we can help people at an exponential level, where I feel in the past, I didn't have the breadth of tools that I have now, that I go, oh, you know what you need? Because I've experienced it, or I've used it in my own personal life or my own business, and you share the wealth. So you become even more valuable to people, not just by my programs, but they come to you as a resource. So when they do need you, they know you, they trust you. They're like, yeah, now I'm ready for you. And so you have this passive level of income coming in constantly because of all of the groundwork that we've left. We're almost out of time, but I do want you to share. Can you share one success story that, they took your assessment, and how did those steps go for this person?
So yes, it was a young gentleman, a young male who sold $650,000 trucks to cities.
Wow.
That was a vacuum truck that when there was a sewer blockage, the city didn't have to cut up the street. They could actually vacuum. And he had a little bit of oppositional reflex where he thought he knew everything.
Mm.
And so he did, that's the way that it came through on his assessment. And also, he thought that he needed to prospect in person. And so think about the way that they sold that truck was a demo. And so getting this huge truck into a city where there were other, like a big city with a bunch of little suburbs around was dream come true. Wasn't comfortable picking up the phone and saying, you know what, I'm going to be at XY city. Can we pop over and do a demo for your people? And so we had to really work on him to get him to know that picking up that phone and making a phone call and scripting was really important for him. And he was a friendly guy and role play. And so he got good at that so that could go into a city instead of having just one demo, he could have 4 or 5 throughout a couple days.
Awesome.
But it was definitely working on him on his coachability to realize that his thinking that he wasn't going to be able to get a phone call because he was charismatic, good-looking young guy, friendly. He thought that he had to walk into a facility. Well, you can't do that anymore in the cities, right?
Yes.
So it took a little bit of coaching and also having him work with the app to really see where his negativity around this whole concept was really sabotaging, and it worked. And so he was able to, I mean, you said that you got an email from Barb and she's like, Connie, this works. And he actually sold a truck. Like he was so astounded that he just was like, he couldn't believe it. So part of this is helping people believe they can do it, because sometimes you're not gonna believe it. So helping people to believe that it's possible. And one thing that I do, Connie, and maybe you already do this too, is people go, I want to meet my sales goals. I want to have this. I have them do a worksheet, and with coaching, who do I need to be to do what I need to do to have this successful sales career? And getting them, that's how we can help them all to change their mindset, is really doing some in-depth work. And you said, I can't stand superficiality. There's no superficiality when we take them to a deeper level.
Yeah. And Connie, it's so true that if we can help people, I don't think everybody knows how to self-assess. It's hard, right? Unless you've been doing it, it's hard. So that's one of the things as I go through my training, I have them self-assess a lot of situations, and I tell them there's no right or wrong answer. There's no good or bad, and there's no judgment on my part. If I don't understand what's going on in your head, I can't help you. I know what's going on in my head, and it's a scary place to be, by the way, right? But I don't know what's going on in your head. So by us giving these tools, templates, ideas, use the word script. And I like how you said he wrote the script, how he would say it. You role played it so he locked and loaded what his script is, because nobody should speak like you and I. We have to help them find their voice. And that too, when they realize like he's charismatic and all these things. So he thought, well, I have to show up. Well, you can portray that on the telephone as well. You just need a little of your own scripting, your own verbiage that's going to work and land for that client. So these tools are out there now. We just have to share them, right? And help people find their inner greatness, because we're all great. We just need to help them bring it to the surface through these mindset, shifts and all these other things that we now have available to us. Couple of things. Listen, guys, we're out of time, but Connie's brilliant, as you can see, because we're Connie squared here, and you just got a double dose of brilliance, by the way. But go to Connie's website. It's now I can't talk. exceptionalsalesplural.com. If you have a question for Connie directly, it's Connie at exceptionalsales.com. And of course, she has a free gift for us. Can you tell I'll put the link in the show notes, Connie, because it's a little lengthy, but can you tell everybody what they'll get with that link?
Yes, so you can take a prospecting EKG. It's on time. And you don't even have to give me your information. Just go in there and take that assessment. Be as candid as you can allow yourself to be, and detect the intensity of call reluctance that you may be having. And once you even take that assessment, you'll start self-correcting. So prospecting EKG.
Yes, I love it. And I will put that in the show notes. It's just like I started with my communication style assessment. We have all these superpowers, but we have these blind spots. They're blind spots. We don't know what they are. So this EKG that you give, right, with the sales, my own, again, self-assessing, you're going to shine light on some of those blind spots. And then once I see it, I can't unsee it unless you choose to ignore it, right? But you can't unsee it. But now you're on the road to making those changes that you're looking for to achieve greater sales, right? That's at the end of the day. Number one, the organization wins, you win. I call it the win-win-win factor, right? The organization wins, you made the sales, yay. You made sales, yay. So you're making your commissions or whatever, however you're paid. But the client is winning because they need you. You're not just selling crap to make your budget. You're selling it because there's a need there. So that's the win-win-win factor. And I think that your assessment will help with that. Your quiz will help people kind of self-diagnose. Please, guys, reach out. Connie is absolutely a delight. You've met her here. She's awesome sauce, man. So please take the quiz. Can they leave if they want to get on your email list? So that they can see your posts and articles. If they can give their email as well to get connected with you, even if it's passively.
Well, and on my website, I have an opt-in, and you can opt into a report there. And then also, just if you want to get on my email, my newsletter list, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Beautiful.
Because LinkedIn is an amazing place, and I post there once a week.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. There's information. Connie's here to help. Please, please connect with her. You never know. You never know what article she writes or what post she makes that you think, oh, she's talking to me. So get on the list, because again, it's a blind spot. If you're not on her list, you're never going to see that post. Connie, you're a delight. Thank you. Thank you for being on. I think philosophically, you and I believe sales is the same thing, and we're helping people change their sales game from that icky vibe to, no, we are coming from a place of love and service and care, curiosity, right? All of these things we talked about. It starts with us. So that's the other, not about the prospect. It's about you, salespeople. So it really does start with us. So thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing just your brilliance. I so appreciate you.
Thanks, Connie.
I love our time together. Thank you. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover, no matter where we are, where you are in changing your sales game. Connie and I, we've got your back. You should be reaching out to us. That's all I'm saying. And seriously, guys, I thank you for tuning in to Changing the Sales Game with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. My guests and I really do want you to change your life, change your sales game, and just make more money, serve bigger, serve better. It's easier than you think. I hope that today's show provided some insight and inspiration for you to make your change. Take that quiz, take that EKG quiz. Am I saying that right, Connie? EKG?
Yes.
EKG quiz, so that you can see your blind spots. I think that's a beautiful first action step for you to take. Information's a beautiful thing. If you do nothing with it, it's information in your brain, not really going to do much for you. Take that EKG quiz, and I promise you, magic happens on the back end. Shine that light. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you again, Connie. I'll see you all next week. Have a great week filled with inspiration and love. I love you guys. Have a great one.